This is a narrative on our 30-day vacation. Part 1, referencing going to Maine. And here we left the land of the blazing sun, got our Corvette ready, because we had just returned from a Canadian trip to Banff and Fairmont Hot Springs. What we had planned to do, and you'll see here, is go from A to approximately D, which is in Maine. But we did go clear up to what's known as A, clear up the top of Newfoundland, and then came back all the way. But anyway, our first stop was in Branson, Missouri, where we saw the Shangri-La Theater. It's an acrobatic group. They were extremely well done. And while we were in there participating, got the phone call, the famous phone call from Elder Jones about, what are you doing? I said, be back in 30 days. When we took off from Branson, we made a quick stop spontaneously into Lexington, Kentucky, and checked out the Ruddles Fort area, which I have developed a video on that separately. But after we left Ruddles Fort, our first stop was to see Mark and Tracy and their new home. Of course, she was several months pregnant, and we had a wonderful time with them. Saw their nice new home, and was able to participate with them, looking around the community, getting used to it. Mark had developed a quite large back garden area, as you see here. He was quite proud of it. And of course, he has the wonderful moose rack that I got up in Alaska in his house, and also the bear rug is there for safekeeping. His house has several bedrooms in it, a living room, which has the TV set in it, and the kitchen's right next door to it. Nice home. And of course, he's got a lot of places for his horses. While we were there, he had 7 horses that just roamed the whole area. I believe he had around 10 acres. Anyway, we got everything together and took off, and this was our first stop up on a hill, looking over the whole valley. Then we got the horses ready and saddled up, got limbered up, got ready to take a ride into what is known as Mohawk Valley, which was about a 2-hour horseback ride. And Tracy's pregnant. Didn't know whether she was going to make it or not all the way, but we took off. Been the first time Mom been on a horseback for as far as I can remember. But as you can see here, the trail was very beautiful, and it was just the right kind to be on a horseback to get into the area. I will kind of let you look at some of the pictures that we took as we rode through the area, and it was good to be on a horse for a change myself. It was a lot of fun. Mark's horses were very well mannered, didn't have any problems with them at all, and it was fun just kind of riding through and relaxing and watching the girls, taking it easy at this point in time. There were some great scenic areas we came to, like this one here with a creek and some cliffs, and it was very beautiful going in to this area. And I'll stop talking from time to time and just let you watch, but we had some great pictures. Of course, we had to stop from time to time just to take some good snapshots of different areas that we were at. Here's one where you can see in the background that somebody had arranged a teepee out of long poles. I didn't know if this was a foretaste of what Mom and I was going to be living in down the road, but we enjoyed taking pictures of it. Since we're in Mohawk country, it was very applicable. When we got into the bottom of the area where there's a lake, we of course watered the horses and went out and did a little jig in the water. And then we rode from there to the restaurant, which is located on the lake. Very nice setting. And Mark and Tracy treated us to a real nice, luscious steak dinner, which we really did enjoy. From there, we saddled up and rode all the way back, 2 hours to get back to Mark's place, and the ladies were really starting to suffer then. And it was kind of interesting to watch them hobble around. From there, the next day we went into Wakefield, which is where Mark's mother-in-law has a store, and it's a Western auto store. And there's all kinds of old items in it, just an old country store. Quite large though, very well maintained. And so we had the opportunity of meeting Mark's mother here. And she's in the counter. This is the checkout counter of the store on the inside. And of course, Mark got his picture with her too. He really likes her, and they seem to get along very well. And then, of course, we all had to get our pictures outside of the store. And of course, I was the one that took the picture, so I didn't get in it. From there, we left Mark's and went to what's known as Kirtland, Ohio. The great temple history that is contained there. We went inside, looked at all the visual building, all the original construction, and took the tour inside. Very, very interesting historically, as we've read about what happened there at the temple. Then we went through the New K. Whitney store, and this is part of the original Kirtland town that's been preserved with the streets, and all the stores were fixed up inside just like they were originally. In a very historic setting with all the original supplies and goods and equipment that was used during that time frame. One thing I may mention, that Newell K. Whitney actually established this store in 1826, and the upstairs of the store became the sleeping quarters for Joseph Smith and his wife in 1832. They stayed there for almost 2 years, which was quite interesting to think of him actually being there with his family. There's another house that belonged to one of the gentlemen historically, and I can't remember who it was. Should have got that ready for this video. But there were quite a few stores there along the area. We were about out of time, so we didn't get to go through all of them, and just took a few pictures of the ones that were there that had some historic resemblances. And they also had right next to that an old sawmill that was excavated and restored, of which they had apparently used to make lumber for the community. But even more interesting, as you'll see here a little bit later on, it was all powered by water, a little water wheel that they improvised, made a lot of different items. There's what looks like pulpits that were being manufactured. All the original woodwork inside, the pulleys, all the different devices used to make different wooden products. Pretty fascinating. But what we found even more interesting is that right next door and part of the building inside, they built potash. And so they had this huge ovens to where they developed and manufactured this potash, which was used to manufacture a lot of other items in that time. Apparently glass was made, soap, gunpowder, and paper products were all made from this potash raw materials. So apparently it was a tremendous cash crop form back in that time, because it was necessary. Particularly, I guess, maybe the gunpowder derivative was very popular. The large barrels and drums held water that they used in reference to that manufacturing process. After we left Kirtland, we hit the road again and took off, drove through part of the town, and headed off for Evergreen Inn, which was in the upper part of Maine. But as we were getting there, we would see a lot of different scenic things along the way, and as you see here, we took pictures of them that we found interesting. Some of the large cobblestone streets in different communities, and it was a very interesting drive. Would do it again very easily. The scenic route in some of the river valleys, as you see in here, was very picturesque and beautiful. We didn't have time to stop, of course. We just took pictures right out of the car, as you can see here. This was part of a river valley that was just unbelievably beautiful. Called 15 Mile Falls. Anyway, when we finally, after all the driving and the beautiful country we saw, we arrived to our destination, which is the Evergreen Inn timeshare, which only cost us, if my memory is right, about $129 for the whole week.